Okay, start.
Start what?
This is like, okay, I want to
Click it, number one.
yeah, click number one. So, okay, so I'll do the introduction. Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Jadi hari ini aku akan interview Aziz. Ini Aziz dari Palestina. Nanti kan sebelum gue bocorin sebenarnya dia mau cerita di Palestina itu gimana sih. Dan first of all, ini bahasanya yang dipakai bahasa Inggris sama Indonesia. Jadi nanti akan gue translate. So, okay Aziz, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you.
So, okay, just introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Aziz Abu Zaid. I'm from Rafah in Palestine.
Oh, it's
See it?
look
Yeah,
at
I have
that.
the map.
Your jacketnya jaket Palestina.
Yeah, so that's the map of Palestine.
Okay.
So I live here on the corner, like the border with Egypt and the Mediterranean.
If you can't see it, like I'll give you the map. Like
Yeah.
I'll edit it for you.
Yeah, so it's a small town. It's actually a refugee camp. I grew up there and I had my degree in English language teaching. I worked as a teacher in Gaza for 4 years. And then I'm here in the US studying a master's in political science from the University of Utah, same as Ari.
Ya, jadi Aziz ini dari Palestina, tapi kayak dia ngajar bahasa Inggris di Gaza. So he teach English in Gaza, right?
Yeah.
Gaza, right? And then sekarang dia belajar di University of Utah jurusan political science atau ilmu politik. So ya ini adalah background dari Aziz. Okay, so let's start. I actually last night, last minute, like I list a couple of questions that maybe you can answer. I hope so.
Okay.
So first question is easy.
Yeah.
Tell me more about living in Palestine. Like how is it like?
Well, depending on who you ask in Palestine,
Okay.
because Palestine has like Gaza Strip and the West Bank, and circumstances are different, but
Mhm.
both are equally bad. But there's like some beauty in either, like in each place. For example, people who live in Gaza, they enjoy the beach views and they enjoy the, like the temperate weather. We don't have any mountains, we don't have any snow, we don't have any extreme weather, but sometimes people who are not living in good housing are like suffering from like the rainstorms and stuff. But people in the West Bank, they have like mountains and it's easier for them to travel because they have like border with Jordan, which is much easier to go through than from Gaza through the Sinai Desert to all the way to the outside world. And since Egypt is like mostly complicit with Israel on like closing the borders, we have 5 days of border opening a week. So
5 days, only 5 days.
yeah, and each day like maximum 500 people leave. So like we have a queue, a line of people waiting to travel, which could be like tens of thousands
Every day?
at a time. Like if you register for travel, if you get on that queue, you'd have to wait like for 2 or 3 months to be able to travel,
Oh, okay.
and sometimes up to a year, unless you get some kind of extreme emergency. And every time you want to travel, you want to like show them why you want to travel, and it has to be an actual emergency, or like that you need the travel for life-saving situation, for a job, for education and stuff. You can't just travel for tourism.
So basically, what you said is that in order to travel outside of Gaza, and you have to make some kind of application.
Yeah.
So like, how is the process?
It used to be like going to a specific office in Gaza. They would give them your passport and the papers proving your purpose for travel. and then you would like get a number, like a queue number, like this is like you have 5,000 people in front of you like that want to travel, but usually it's much higher than that. But now they have developed like an application on your phone that you can like facilitate the same process.
So is that applications from government of Palestine or like
the
it's
Palestinian government?
Okay.
Because Egyptians allow, and that's only for travel to Egypt. Like you can travel the other way through Israel or the occupied territories, but like mainly like 100 people per week travel, and most of them are either registered like merchants who go for business, or cancer patients going to receive like medication in the West Bank or Jerusalem.
Okay.
Yeah.
But can you go to Israel?
Like you need a really good reason. Just like I said, it's either you are a merchant or you have business inside occupied Palestine. Like that, you, for example, you need to go to the port because all of our imports come through Egypt or Israel. So you have to go to the port to see your goods and merchandise that you imported from China, from whatever. So you have to go to the port of Ashdod or the port of Haifa. So to go to there, like you have to go to Israel. So these people have special permits that are like valid for 3 months at a time, and they have to renew every 3 months to facilitate their business.
Okay.
But they have to show Israelis that they have like business papers, and like they have to demonstrate how like they need to go like frequently. And they do these extensive background checks and these like very long waiting periods and processing periods and stuff. So it's either that or you have been waiting for a while for a permit to get like medication or to get treatment at a Palestinian or Israeli hospital. And either way it's paid for by the Palestinian Authority. So even when you hear in the news that Israel allows or like treats Palestinian patients, it's not out of their own goodwill, you know, it's just business for them.
Okay.
So Palestinian Authority pays them for that service. And they brag about it as if they were like helping the cancer patients, even though some cancer patients die before even getting a permit. Yeah.
So it's really hard to imagine like how how hard it is if you are sick, like you have a cancer, and you have to have like treatment and in the West Bank or even like in Israel. So another question is that so we can give like people idea like how. I think I see in the map that because it's really small.
Yeah.
And then how many population is in Gaza?
So in this like small strip of land between Rafah and Gaza, there's like 2 million and like something people living, which is like literally 365 square kilometers, which is smaller than the smallest island in in Indonesia.
And then we have 17,000 of it.
Yeah. So it's a really small place and packs millions of people, and that's in Gaza. But in the West Bank, like things are a little bit more dispersed since there's like more space. But still, the majority of populations are in refugee camps, and refugee camps have a very high density of people. And when you talk about refugee camps, like anywhere else in the world, it's refugee camps that are like tents and no services and stuff. But in Palestinian refugee camps, it's like it's a whole city, but it's built without any urban planning. It's like mostly slums and little services, and they don't have access to clean water. And mostly in Gaza, for example, we have access to electricity only 8 hours a day maximum. You know.
8 hours?
Yeah.
So you don't have like lights during the day?
So yeah, we have a rotating schedule. Sometimes we
okay.
have like electricity from 8 a.m. to like 2 p.m. and that's it. Sometimes we'd have it like from 2 p.m. to 18. It depends, you know. But mostly in urban places, it like we always have electricity past midnight. So from midnight to 6 a.m. mostly like everyone has electricity, but like nobody uses it
Yes,
at that time.
right. So, I actually like gue udah dengar cerita dari Aziz sebelumnya tentang kayak kondisi living apa namanya dia di apartemennya. So I think I told them that I've heard your story about like the housing there and then like how do you guys like live in like this apartment? Can you tell us about it?
Like for the housing situation, most people have like big housing complexes for like whole families. For example, one family would have a 6-story building where like it's like the first floor would be the grandparents and then the uncles and so on.
Okay.
And whenever someone gets married, they just build another floor. Even though the building wouldn't be like equipped for this kind of building, and that's mostly in refugee camps and non-metropolitan areas like not downtown and stuff because downtown is highly regulated. But people mostly expand upwards and not because there are no more lands to expand on, and it's very uncommon for like a young person who comes from even middle class families to have his own house, unless like his family owns a house and he builds an apartment on top of his family's house. But to buy a new house, that's very uncommon.
Okay, so what about like you mentioned it before that you can you grow like your own food like and
mostly like household vegetables like potatoes, tomatoes, and cucumbers. They're like we are self-sufficient in Gaza. Like we grow enough to and sometimes we export some of that because like Gaza has like these border lands with Israel, with occupied Palestine, and they are very good farmlands, which are mostly restricted like access areas that Israel doesn't allow people to go there, even though it's still in Gaza. But usually farmers go anyway and risk their lives, but they're very good farmlands and they got good outcome for household vegetables,
Oh, okay.
But otherwise, everything is imported from Israel.
Okay, so Israel and Egypt actually. Right?
No, mostly Israel because the border with Egypt is only for passengers. It's not for trade. Like there used to be like underground tunnels to smuggle products and the goods from Egypt, but with the current Egyptian regime of Sisi, he closed down all of these tunnels, and there's martial law in effect in the Sinai Desert that nobody even lives. Like the whole town adjacent to like Rafah, there's another Rafah in Egypt here, like at the other side of the border, and it has been eradicated. The whole city is gone. He destroyed all the buildings and kicked the people out of their homes, just because they used to help Palestinians smuggle goods into Gaza. So the border between Palestine and Egypt usually is used for passengers, but sometimes it's used to to transport highly profitable products like tobacco and stuff like that. Never food.
So, like with the current president of Egypt, is it president or president of Egypt? Is there any like pressure from Israel?
Definitely,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Because
then
like the president of Egypt mostly gets his directions in regards to Gaza from Israelis.
Why though? Like,
It's politics. you know, they control a lot of what he decides about Gaza. In return of, like, for example, the U.S. support of to Egypt, because most of the U.S. support, foreign aid, goes to two countries, Israel and Egypt. Like, the biggest recipients of military aid from the U.S. in the world are Israel, number one, and then Egypt, number two. So, in return for that support, Egypt has to implement certain policies that Israel dictates.
I give you the money and then you need to do things
exactly.
for me. But
Quid pro quo.
but the question is why they give so much money to Egypt? Like, if Israel, like, it makes sense because, like, it's their.
Well, because they need someone to proxify their policies in the Middle East. And Egypt is a really big country. It's, like, very influential. It has gas. It has a lot of industry. It has, like, over 100 million people. So it's a giant. If you control the policies of this country, then you control the whole area. Yeah. Yeah, because back in, I think, 2018, President Sisi gave away, like, a whole island that used to belong to Egypt to Saudi Arabia on the command of the U.S. So it's very complicated, the situation, but it's as simple as money buys decisions.
Okay. But it's just, I don't know. I hate to ask this question. So, do you guys feel, as a Palestinian, specifically as Gaza, like Palestinian Gaza, that you guys, like, are left behind from the Arab countries?
Well, the thing is, we used to, like, have expectations from the Arab countries because of, like, the common Arab heritage and the common Islamic religion that is, like, very dominant in the Arab countries and in Gaza. But then it's up to us. Like, every time that something happens in Gaza, when Israel attacks and kills thousands of Palestinians, mostly Arabs don't do anything but talking, and sometimes even talking goes in favor of Israel. But then, like, we stopped having expectations, because it's up to us. Like, if Israel kills us every single day, nobody would ask anything. Nobody would raise questions. No news headlines would come up. But whenever Palestinians fire back at Israel, everybody makes a big deal out of it because Israel is this democracy in the Middle East and stuff, and everybody follows the U.S. policy and U.S. directions on Israel and Israel policy. That's why we stopped having expectations, and kind of people started to depend on themselves and what they can do. Even people in the West Bank took the hint because the whole world doesn't care about, like, and even the Palestinian Authority itself is very corrupt and is subject to Israeli policies and Israeli pressure, and even pressure from the U.S. and the European Union because of money. Like, if you don't have money, you don't have decisions, and the same goes for Palestinian Authority.